Yes. So greeting from Burger Brains. Nice to meet everyone here on the webinar organized by Burger Brain and Pinterest. My name is Tracy, Marketing Manager of Burger Brains, and today it is my honor to introduce Paul, Partner Managers in charge of Growth Sales EMEA from Pinterest. He will be the main speaker of the webinar, who will share everything about the Pinterest potential for e-commerce in general and print on demand in particular. Yes. Why the reason we have a Paul here, because Burger Brains and Pinterest have already built up a partnership who promise to support the POD merchants in driving social traffic and also fulfillment service. In the very first webinar, Paul will help me run through all the potential of Pinterest for not only big, or you can see big corporation companies, but also SMEs or merchants in the Vietnam POD community, like most of you guys here. As you may know, the Pinterest is a growing social platform with around 500 million users, not the largest. However, potential and very popular, I say that very popular in the US because of different and its unique. In my personal perspective, Pinterest always come across to my mind whenever I want to search for creatives, idea, fresh mind. Pinterest is really the hub of inspirations. It really is. And one the interesting fact I want to share with you, that's the most buyers on the Pinterest platform, they didn't have any purchase intentions when they go to the Pinterest. That's it's interesting because people jump in Pinterest with inspiration and jump out with an entire purchase. Yeah, cool, right? Such a different platform for different advertising strategy. So before we dive into details in the Pinterest platform, can I save 1 minute only to say a little bit about the Burger Brain? Burger Brain is an on-demand fulfillment service specializing in all product. Our catalog offer a very larger selections of the products from clothing, accessory, home living, everything you need to start an e-commerce business. Until now, we have like up to 1,600 SKUs and monthly launch 4 to 5 new products. In the middle of this year, start operating Mexico fulfillment service with the objectives of shorten the times of manufacturing and shipping. So it's end on my part and not talkative anymore. Paul, please help me to handle the session from now on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to share my screen, Tracy, if that's okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, hang on. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Tracy, for the introduction, and great to connect with all of you. So my name is Paul. I look after new business partnerships here at Pinterest. And over the next, I would say 45 minutes, going to take you through our platform from, I suppose, a member perspective, what our demographic makeup looks like globally and in some of your key markets. And then also how people use Pinterest and how advertisers like yourselves can tap into that behavior on our platform. So going to start off really top line. What is Pinterest? How do people sort of use Pinterest as a consumer? And what does that mean for advertisers from a value perspective? How can you sort of leverage that behavior to drive value for an engagement for your businesses? So at a very top line level, our mission as a platform is to bring people around the world inspiration to create a life they love. And what that really means is helping people find what they want within specific categories and enabling them to take an action off platform. And that action could be in the form of a transaction. It could be in the form of, remodeling or gifting or any type of behavior. And hopefully that makes a bit more sense over the coming slides. If you take our platform and try to figure out what it really is and what sits behind it, we think of ourselves not so much as a social media platform, but more of a visual discovery engine. And what that means is when someone has an idea around a category and they open up the Pinterest app, they're using that app to find inspiration within the category. They're going deeper within the category, and visual, image-based and sort of video-based search is at the core of all of that. So Pinterest is a uniquely positioned in the ecosystem because it is a visual-first platform. And what that sort of brings to life is a ton of different possibilities from a creative perspective, as an advertiser, and an ability to inspire people within the category first. So think about Pinterest as a platform people go to when they want to discover more about a category. And for advertisers, that is super, super compelling. So your audience is on Pinterest, and Tracy alluded to some of our demographic makeup globally. We're sitting at about 450 million monthly active users and growing at a very fast clip, even off that, super big base. Our US is our biggest market globally, but we're seeing massive growth in international markets as well. If we take the US demographic specifically, and we look at that audience, and just a few of our demographic cuts, 80% of US moms are on Pinterest, for example. 1 in 2 US millennials are on the platform. And you can see some of the other demographics there, growing sort of user base as well with millennial males in the US. So we do still cover a wide breadth of demographics, particularly in the US, and we're seeing good pockets of growth with some of our emerging demographics as well. Half of US adults, as I sort of alluded to there earlier, are on the platform. And then what might be sort of interesting for you as well is over half of our demographic in the US have a collective household income over 100K. So although we have a sort of a 450 million monthly active users globally, they're of a high net worth standing in terms of their disposable income and discretionary income. Are one of our bigger emerging demographics then as well. And what we saw over the pandemic is with Gen Z and a younger demographic. So 1 in 2 US Gen Zs are now using Pinterest on a monthly basis as well. So again, there's a ton of different cuts of demographic that you can sort of target to and speak to and craft your different campaigns against. I think that one of the things I want to sort of bring to life here as well is to sort of differentiate us from other platforms as well. So I'm conscious that you'll probably be using the likes of Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, etc. to reach audiences. That's something to be aware of, is that just because these folks are on different platforms doesn't necessarily mean they're on Pinterest, for example. And I just sort of brought out the incrementality our platform can drive versus those other channels. Yes, we know Facebook have 2 billion daily active users globally, but there's still a portion of Pinterest users who are not active on that channel. And you can see how that looks across all the other different social media platforms. So just because you're on TikTok, you're on Twitter, Snapchat, etc., doesn't mean you're necessarily reaching our audience. And as I mentioned in the previous slides, we have a demographic that is uniquely positioned from a household income perspective, and also from an age profiling as well. And I haven't even gotten into the behavior on the platform yet. Onto behavior and purchase behavior. So, what makes our platform uniquely different from all those other platforms I just mentioned in the aforementioned slides? When people open up the platform, when people open up Pinterest, they do it with a degree of purchase intent. They open the platform for a category, not to interact with their friends or not to interact socially. That is the number one thing I want you to take away from today. 89% of our weekly pinners will use Pinterest for inspiration as they make a purchase. So they'll do their research on the platform, they'll get inspired within a category. They may make that purchase off platform, but the actual discovery of the product or the proposition happens on Pinterest in 9 out of 10 instances. I'd mentioned purchasing power in the last couple of slides, and this is super important. As I sort of mentioned there, we have a high net worth sort of audience on Pinterest, and when you cut our demographic and look at just millennials versus the rest, there is actually where we see a higher portion of our user base with a higher income bracket over 100K. I suppose you think about that, and hopefully this is making you think, we're not just a social platform or a search platform. We're a platform that influences purchases and influences how consumers think about categories and how they make transactions within those categories. One of the things I want to bring to life as well is the sort of everyday usage of Pinterest versus other moments throughout the year. And particularly, I think for retail and fashion, this is particularly relevant. So Pinterest as a platform is used for those everyday moments. So if you take fashion as a vertical or a category, people come on every single day to Pinterest for just general inspiration about what to wear. I think that's the first thing to sort of get our head around. And that is sort of the everyday behavior that we see on our platform. We also have evergreen occasions and special occasions. So coming up to we're in Cyber Week right now. We're Black Friday. It's obviously the end of the week. We're seeing a massive engagement on gifting inspiration, gifting searches specifically for Black Friday and Black Friday deals, as well as we're seeing early, searches for Christmas gifting as well in the US and all our markets globally. So that would sit in our evergreen occasions and our special occasions in terms of specific moments marketers can engage throughout the year. So that's how to think about our platform in terms of how do we tap into that behavior. We know that within fashion and retail, there's an always on audience that you can be engaging and going after. But we also know coming up to key seasonal moments throughout the year, there's a type of search behavior that happens and a surge in conversion index that you can also tap into and engage. So I mentioned moments. I'm digging into that in a bit more detail. Moments happen on Pinterest. They're made on Pinterest. And what I mean by that is, if you take a category like weddings, for example, we know exactly when someone is planning for a wedding and at what stage they're at in that planning cycle. And we see this in our search data. We can take that across every single category. From a life moments perspective, seasonal, as I mentioned, there with Christmas, so coming into Cyber Week and Black Friday, and then unique moments throughout the year. So coming into, I suppose, January after Christmas and the holiday period, we're going to see a big increase in searches around health, fitness, wellness, etc. So any trend, macro trend you can think of that happens in your day-to-day life or that you plan for as a marketer, it's also happening on Pinterest and their audiences that you can reach. I mentioned planning, I mentioned inspiration, I mentioned people sort of coming to our platform to discover new things. And one of the really great things about Pinterest is people start planning early. They start planning purchases early on our platform. That when we sort of look at search behavior on other channels and other search engines, we see that planning or that sort of engagement around the category happen a lot later. So what do I mean by that? If you take Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holiday period, and you can see the green line here, which is Pinterest trends and searches within the category, they're happening months earlier, right? And this is versus other search engines that you'd be obviously familiar with, where the searches are happening within the week. On Pinterest, that planning happens a lot earlier because people are getting inspiration earlier on, and building up that, I suppose, decision-making matrix about what products and what categories and how they want to sort of shape certain categories and certain moments throughout the year. So great opportunity for marketers to reach these people early when they're building up that decision-making profile around their categories, and they're building up their competitive set of brands that they want to reach or that they want to sort of spend with. Excuse me. So people use Pinterest. They use Pinterest around particular occasions, but they'll also use it coming up to particular moments. And again, it's a platform that's used to make those inspired decisions, and that ultimately lead to transactions. I wanted to break out just the profile of the typical user again, just to sort of dig into this a bit more. So, think about the last year and a half and people sort of working from home globally. We'll take a pinner and sort of, I suppose, bring to life how our platform has sort of been able to sort of see or shape the decisions that this person's making in their day-to-day life. So again, taking someone like Tom, changing and shifting priorities and working from home and building up a home office using Pinterest to actually do that. And we could see this in our search data over the last year and a half. The unique thing about Pinterest is, and I mentioned earlier on, top line inspiration and discovery, 97% of searches on Pinterest are all unbranded. So what does that mean? It means people are coming to the platform, as Tracy alluded to earlier, they're coming to the platform with a category in mind, but they're not quite sure yet what they want to do. And as a marketer, you're uniquely positioned to engage them, inspire them around your brand, around your product, and move them through your purchase funnel. When we look at Tom and how he sort of made that shift, and what does that mean for an individual that you're trying to reach, you know, folks will use Pinterest and they'll build out particular sort of facets of their lives that they want to sort of, I suppose, shape. So, you know, entertaining the kids for Tom obviously became a priority during lockdown in the last year and a half, as well as working from home and keeping me current, etc. So you know, digging into that behavior a bit more, it means that 84% of our weekly pinners will use Pinterest when they're actively considering products that they want to purchase, and that is unique to our platform. And again, you know, moving through this, you know, taking into consideration where how brands fit into this, it means that when brands, you know, when brands are in front and advertising to folks on Pinterest, it means that, you know, our weekly pinners will have made a purchase based on content that they saw, branded content or ads that they have seen on Pinterest. I want to sort of I'm going to go into ad formats now over the next couple of slides, but I want to spend a few moments talking about video and the importance of video on Pinterest. And I suppose, you know, I know there'll be, you know, folks that are thinking of different assets maybe that they want to run on Pinterest and want to run, you know, through sort of through your own campaigns. But video on Pinterest is uniquely is important. So we know that it takes, when we look at our data, and this is all ads on Pinterest, it takes half the impressions to convert someone on Pinterest than it does on other media, on other social media. So again, this is super important, and I think it's compelling, and you know, hopefully this is going to drive results for you. On Pinterest, you know, what we see on Pinterest is that video have 3 times higher view rate than they have on other social platforms. And you know, this is super compelling because it means that, you know, your message is gonna firstly land with more people, but it also means there's that exposure on our platform is 3 times higher than it would be on other social platforms from a video perspective. And following our best practice means that you can really sort of drive engagement and drive interaction just through video alone. When we look at video, and you know, we still consider video an emerging format on our platform, even though it's been there for a number of years now, but it's still, you know, growing at a rapid clip, and you can see some of the metrics here. Pinners are engaging with video now more than they ever were before. A lot of this is done by design. We're seeing searches for video increase 28% year over year. In terms of video content that's being created, nearly 800% year on year increase in video content, so massive surge there. And in terms of viewers or minutes watched, 964 minutes of video views per day. So again, you know, these are great stats, and what I'm saying here is encouraging you to think video as well as static images, as well as all the other formats that we have. Bed those into your plans, and you know, you should see that engagement increase. In terms of best practice and what we're recommending, and again, this is going to be different by advertiser. I'm totally conscious that different by campaign, but the overall, I suppose, message here is to inspire. Like, that is what we sort of ask our advertisers to do, and that's what lands best with our user base. When we see folks that were advertisers that are pushing videos, discover new ideas, 61% versus 31% first in terms of Pinterest engagement versus the competitors, learn new skills, start new projects, and take action, which I think is going to be important for the advertiser base here. So brands, as I mentioned, can shape those decisions, those buying decisions early, and you know, guide. The goal here is obviously to guide folks through that purchase path, inspire them with what you have as a sort of product proposition, and guide them through that purchase path. So what do we want to get you folks to sort of do, or marketers to do and think of, and what will inevitably drive that growth for you? I think firstly, and I've mentioned inspiration, I must have mentioned it a bunch of times already, but you know, the number one thing to think about on our platform is inspiration, and how we inspire those consumers, how we get them to take that action, and that action with your brand. So, you know, all that inspiration, all those assets should hopefully build up that pipeline of demand on Pinterest when folks are in that early stage inspiration, and which will, you know, inevitably lead to driving value, either off platform, you know, on your other channels that you're live on, or directly in Pinterest itself. I'm going to just take a couple of seconds to speak to a case study, just to sort of show you, we can be the platform that drives brand awareness, but also drives really strong commercial results for your business as well. And hopefully some of you will have heard of Manscaped, trying to reach not a typical demographic on Pinterest, but males age 18 to 45, and doing this with, a really aggressive performance goal in mind. So really trying to drive a low cost on our platform. How do they do this? And I'm going to speak to some of our features here. Automatic bidding on Pinterest is super effective, and it's super effective when running conversion campaigns. And I'm going to come into objectives, moving forward. But, essentially, Manscaped were using manual bidding. They shifted their budget over to search on Pinterest and to conversion campaigns, and were able to leverage automatic bidding, which dynamically auto bids for them in the auction. And that enabled them to drive really strong results. So what do they see? 20% increase in ROAS, a return on ad spend, a 37% increase in their click-through rate, and a massive decrease if you think about the CPA goal, a stable CPA goal they're probably driving on our platform. They're able to drop that by nearly 20%, and that is significant. All doing this by leveraging our algorithm, leveraging our automatic bidding capability, which inevitably just drove more efficient traffic and more leaned in traffic through to their website, which then obviously engage and transact and driving those super results for the brand. So 3 things here, and there's links out to these resources. Using automatic bidding, keep the targeting broad, and appeal to those interests that I mentioned that will be relevant to you within the fashion and retail vertical. I'm going to move on to ad formats now and just make you aware of what's available to you through the Burger Prince account. There'll be links out to best practices within this deck that we share after the call as well, but just going to make you aware of our format. So, we've essentially got, I would say, if you think of the Facebook ecosystem from a formats perspective, Twitter to a degree, relatively similar formats. I think the big differences here is creative, and how to position your creative on Pinterest is slightly different than other platforms. So, working from left to right here, you can see our standard static pin through to video, which I mentioned is a huge focus for us as a platform moving into 22 and beyond, carousel and collections ads as well. And I'll go into these in a bit more depth over the next couple of slides. So again, these are linked out. There's links out in this deck, which you'll all receive, to pin creation and best practices. But essentially what you want to sort of think about here from a creative best practice perspective is to go with a vertical aspect ratio, as you can see here. So 2:3 aspect ratio, as it explains there in the guidance. And you want to showcase brand and product and lifestyle in the one shot. And what do I mean by that? If you can see here on the right-hand side in the static pin example here, we've obviously got a hair care brand, which is called Anamon, and you can see they have the product in shot, they have brand in shot, they have a strong shot now call to action as well as text overlay, and they have a lifestyle image. And that, in essence, is, if you're trying to drive, bottom of the funnel conversions, this is what you want to sort of aim for from a creative perspective. If we look at video, similar guidance here. So again, we encourage when you're thinking about designing for Pinterest, is to have that 6 to 15 second length, have brand in focus as well. You can see for Reigns, brand there's a branded overlay in shot that for the entire video, and product prominence as well, the very clear product, and also sort of, I suppose, product attributes coming to life with the outline of the charging capability and the sound quality of those specific headphones. Carousel then is another really strong format, and a format that I think you should all probably lean into quite heavily, and just thinking of the category that you're in. So again, this allows you to showcase a number of products within the one image, or within the one format, I should say, and to drive additional purchases or learnings from the user perspective across multiple images within that brand carousel. Again, learnings from before all apply here from the static pin recommendation. You want to be thinking about brand overlay in every image. You want to sort of tell that brand story and product story And also aspect ratio is super important here as well to think about going with 2:3 aspect ratio, ideally, if you can, with all your static pins and also video pins as well. Collections is another one. And again, I won't spend too much time on this, but again, you know, just a combination of a hero image and a carousel format within the one, I suppose within the one format. Again, this will enable you to tell more about the proposition and what you want to see, and has a mix of obviously products and imagery there that you can bring that to life. The next, which I didn't spend too much time on, but I want to sort of bring highlight to you, but I recommend sort of looking at shopping later on once you tested out a couple of different formats first. But shopping is a format that will enable you to upload a product feed onto Pinterest and will enable you to amplify that product feed across our ecosystem. I talked about this earlier. This applies not just to shopping, but this applies to everything on our platform from a consumer perspective or an e-commerce perspective. What we see on Pinterest and what we see from a basket size perspective is that when we look at Pinterest versus folks that shop or have engaged in shopping off platform, and this is for fashion and for beauty, is that on Pinterest they have an 85% larger basket at checkout. And again, this shouldn't be too surprising because of the nature of our platform, the intent and the purchase intent behind every sort of behavior that we see on our platform. How does shopping look? So again, product feed ingested, depending on how many SKUs you have, you can upload this into onto the Burger Prince profile, and this will enable you to, as I said, create product groups and amplify those product groups across our network. It'll also enable you to tap into dynamic retargeting as well, which again you might be used to from other platforms, which works you know, through the product feed and where folks have previously landed via you know, a product page through a website. So again, shopping ads there, and you can see how it sort of works in real time and how the sort of, I suppose, the advertiser website loads, etc., and the, you know, the frictionless nature of this you know, this format. Collection ads similar there. I just want to show you that in full flow. So again, bringing that to life, you can see there, this one's with a video asset in place and dynamic retargeting there, as I mentioned, similar to obviously other platforms and what you're probably used to from a targeting capability perspective, which is helping folks make that transaction if they've, you know, previously bounced or disengaged from the website. So that is it from just a sort of I suppose a platform overview perspective. What I wanted to do next over the next few minutes is just open up the platform and bring you through just a demo of setting up an actual campaign within the account itself. So just bear with me 2 seconds when I navigate. I'm just going to navigate to the Burger Prince profile. And, you know, again, we're sort of obviously working with Burger Prince in enabling you to get access to this ads platform, and you'll be able to actually log in here with an invitation from Burger Prince, and set up campaigns within this actual profile itself. So I'm going to just walk you through a general setup of a traffic campaign, just some of the watch outs and what to sort of do, and also touch on budget setting as well within the actual ads manager itself, which is, it's going to be super important. So please, you know, pay attention to this if you can. So firstly, obviously, when you get access to this ads manager account through Burger Prince, you know, you'll be able to click in and create an actual ad. That's the first step here. I'll go into some of the other things in a second, but I'm going to click on consideration for now, which is a traffic campaign. You can see all the other objectives there you can have access to. When you're setting up a campaign, our guidance would be to name your campaign after obviously your merchant website, ideally. So name it after your merchant website, and then also allocate a campaign budget. So whatever amount you want to sort of spend, either daily or lifetime, make sure that you're putting that in at the campaign budget level. And that will mean that your budget is under control. You can spend exactly what you want for that campaign and you won't have any issues. So that you won't be able to see this field down here, by the way. So just focus in on either lifetime or daily. for your campaign budget, and you can allocate as well, or you can set specific scheduling or campaign dates that you want to run this on. After that, in terms of the hierarchy, you'll move into the ad group setup, and you can create multiple ad groups in here that will all spend relative to that campaign budget that you're setting at the start. So again, name your campaign or your ad group, whatever you want to call it. This could be after your targeting or just specific campaign that you're trying to set up. And then next will be our targeting details. So kind of mentioned earlier on, we've a ton of different, obviously, targeting capability. For now, I'm just going to show you find new customers, which is our first party targeting, with our interest in keyword based targeting. So I'm going to click on interest in keyword and just sort of show you the different categories, obviously, that you'll be able to target. So these are all our interest based targeting. And then you also have the option of targeting by search. So as I mentioned there, the way people use Pinterest is all ideas based, it's all inspiration led. And that means that people come onto the platform and they don't necessarily type in brands or specifics. They look for inspiration within the categories. So say, for example, we take home decor, you can see what people are searching for in real time within the home decor category, and you can add those results and target folks by that. If you want to type in something a bit more specific, kitchen, I know this isn't relevant for this category, but just kitchen design, just to sort of show you, you can see the amount of searches and what people are searching for within the category there. So just going to delete that. And then obviously you can move down into demographics and target by gender, age, location as well. You can see all the different markets in here, and also device as well. If you want to sort of cut data by, or if you want to target specifically on iPhone, iPad, or Android, etc., you can do that all here. And then you're into budget setting again. So, again, if you want to set a specific ad group budget, you can do that in here. You've already set your budget at the campaign group level, but if you want to specifically outline a budget in here, you can do that. And then you can obviously select how you want this to optimize. So I mentioned automatic bidding there, and the power of our automatic bidding is super, it's super effective in terms of driving cost efficiency, but you can also custom bid as well and put in a maximum CPC that you want to pay for. Next up, you're into building out the actual ads themselves. So you'll be able to do that within this section here. So I mentioned video, I mentioned static pin, I mentioned a bunch of different formats. You'll be able to create them all in here, add in your creative, add in your pin title, and obviously your destination link URL, and publish that pin. And then you can launch your campaign as easy as that. So that's a very, sort of whistle stop tour, sort of showing you how to set up a campaign and set up your ads in our platform. And you'll be able to do that whenever you get access to the account, as I mentioned. Some of the other things, just in terms of when you're actually live, you'll be able to see your campaigns in here, and you'll be able to obviously track that performance over time. If you want to set up scheduled reporting, you can also do that in our ads manager through custom reports. And you'll also be able to check out some of the other analytics on the platform itself. So trends is one that you'll be able to take a look at. And this will enable you to sort of see what people are searching for on our platform in real time. We only have this for US, UK, and Canada for now. But say, for example, if we look at, I don't know, fashion ideas for men, sorry. You can sort of see, I just want to say, yeah, you can see, oh, sorry, I was just typing men's fashion, apologies. You can see what the trends look like over time. So again, we're seeing obviously a big spike in terms of engagement and searches within men's fashion at the moment. It's obviously in the run up to, Cyber Week and Black Friday, etc. But you'll also be able to see related trends within the category as well. You'll also, which would be really good, I think, for giving you inspiration around what type of ads or what type of creative you want to create. You'll be able to see the most popular pins at the moment within that category. So if I scroll down here, you can see this is what is landing well with our pinners within men's fashion searches. And again, you can benchmark then other I suppose trends alongside it to see what the actual growth looks like, or what the comparison looks like. So men's outfits, as we see now, is obviously trending north. Great opportunity to start targeting those folks and getting in front of them and capitalizing on that engagement. So that's pretty much it from me. You know, I think what we'll obviously do next, I'll hand back over to Tracy to sort of wrap us up. But obviously, if there's any questions, we can field those as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks for very detailed and interesting presentations. Actually, I think that Pinterest is quite impressed in the platform, very quite impressed to me. I'm the most impressed that brand can shape decision and also shape very early. I think it's very popular, very suitable for the print-on-demand industry in Vietnam, because Pinterest platform leads us to the quite different advertising strategy with two keywords, unbranded search and inspire purchase decisions. Pinterest can help merchant catch or approach the new customer at the very first phase of the buying journey with a very fresh mind, meaning that you can stay away from the big name influence. So you can rely on the Pinterest in the very competitive environment of advertising world. The difference is very important, right? Thanks for our presentations, and please keep in mind that Burger Brain with the mission to support the Vietnam POD community to explore the new channel for the new sale conversions. We will organize more webinar in the futures, partner with the Pearl and with the Pinterest. So don't forget to follow us for more information about the next webinar. And also on the screen, I will show the on screens or on the comments. We also share the QR code on screen, and you can see here. There's either QR codes, you can scan it for the sign up form. In the sign up form, we have informations, and also if you or you can just leave the comment at the box, inbox the message of the fan page, where our sales team will support you ready 24 hours, 7 days. So thanks for being here and share about the potential of Pinterest platform and Pinterest to the merchants of POD Vietnam communities, and hope to see you in the next webinar. And bye for now, and have a nice week ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah,
bye.
bye. Thank you.